So, what was your first paranormal experience you've had?
My first experiences happened a lot when I was younger, probably around 5, 6, and they happened a lot, but not in full great detail. The one experience that happened to me that probably changed my life for the first time was probably around when I was 12, 13 years old. We had a group to get together, LAN party like they used to have back in the day, where a bunch of kids would come over and we'd play. It'd be at my friend's house. He lives in an old mill that's been converted to a house and had a lot of families in and out of it. They told me when I went that the place was haunted, and I was already piqued by interest of this, but going in I didn't know exactly what I'd see. They told me that knockings would happen, that things would move, and small things like that. So they told me it happened around 5 o'clock a.m. So I said, okay, I'll stay up. We watched a bunch of movies, played a couple games, and as time went on, everyone started falling asleep. Now, I ended up becoming the only one awake at this time, around 5 a.m., and we were kind of bundled up in the same corner, and this house has 2 stories, and in front of me, there's a staircase going up. Beside it goes towards the kitchen. So I was sitting on the couch and about to doze off. No knockings, nothing happened. I was kind of disappointed. And then I heard someone wake up upstairs. So, okay, cool. Someone's getting up. I'll just kind of close my eyes, make sure I don't get in trouble for staying up, as you do when you're a kid. Close my eyes a little bit, and I start hearing someone come to the top of the stairs and come down our way. Well, as you do, you peek your eyes open, and there was nobody there. So I opened my eyes wide because I was seeing if I could adjust better. There was nobody there. And we could hear steps going down each step, all the way down to the bottom. Now, you could say this was the house creaking, but then more happened. Because of us partying and stuff, the house was pretty much a wreck. There's papers everywhere, food, games, whatever you can think of. And as you heard footsteps walking towards me, the things on the ground started to move out of its way, to the point to where it got right on top of me. And I could just stare at this thing. I was looking dead in its eyes as it was looking back at me. Even though I couldn't see anything, I could almost just feel like I was looking into its eyes. And it's staring right back at me as if it knew that I was there and as if it knew that I knew it was there. And there was no figure. It was like I was looking into an invisible force field almost. Like I could see it, but I couldn't. It was just distorted. And I didn't move. I just stared at it until it turned around and started walking towards the kitchen. As it got to the kitchen, I tried waking people up, saying, hey, something's in the kitchen, something's in the kitchen. It just walked up. I tried explaining what happened. And people woke up and they were like, yeah, someone's in the kitchen. You could start hearing things being thrown and dropped and moved, like pans, like cups, everything, moving around. And they were like, yeah, someone's in the kitchen. Go back to sleep. And I'm like, no, there's no one awake. And they're like, you're fine. Go back to sleep. And it was doing that for at least 5-10 minutes. By the time I started coming out of the kitchen, everyone was back asleep but me, and I was just staring at this thing, knowing what I saw. And then it would walk back to the stairs. You could hear it go back up the stairs until it disappeared. And that was my first experience. The first one, at least, definitely got me into investigating, ghost hunting, and knowing that there is something more out there than there actually is.
My first experience happened to me when I was 8 years old. We had a bunk bed. Me and 2 of my brothers, we slept in the same room. And so we had a bunk bed with another bed that pulled out from underneath. And when you pulled it out, it would go up and then lock into place. So I was sleeping on that bed one night. And in the middle of the night, out of nowhere, the bed just starts shaking up and down. It's like all 4 corners were being pushed down independently. It was probably the scariest moment of my entire life to this day. And I started freaking out, and I was yelling for my brothers. I yelled their names. Come on, wake up, wake up. Finally, my brother Leroy, he woke up and he flipped the light on. And I got up and looked. Leroy was beside me. My brother Eddie was on the top bunk. And there was no reason why that should have happened. Because like I said, the bed locks in place when it's pushed up. I live in Kentucky. We're not really known for earthquakes, so there was nothing like that, and it's something that I could just never... I never could explain it. So that was weird enough by itself, but exactly 8 years later, my niece was 8 years old, and she was living with my mother and sleeping in that same bedroom that I was in. And she comes out of her room screaming in the middle of the night. I'm sitting on the couch with my mother, and she comes out screaming and crying, and we're like, Destiny, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she says, my bed was shaking. So I go back there, and I didn't see anything wrong with her bed. I could never get it to shake. I could never get any of the beds to shake on their own while trying to. And it's something I could never explain. It had a very big impact on my life, and that was my very first experience.
So my first experience would have been my junior year of high school. Well, actually between sophomore year and junior year of high school. I was coming back from lifting, actually conditioning for football. So I headed back to where I was working at the time with my grandpa, and we were cleaning out the basement of this chapel because of black mold. And they were moving it, and they were moving the archives and all the books over to another building that had all the history and everything about St. Martin's and all that area. So I get there, talk to a couple of people. I run downstairs with one of the carts and start loading up the books. And I have my headphones in, and I'm just jamming out to music, high school kid, so you can hear the music 5 feet away through headphones. And I'm sitting there, and I hear something scream at me. And she sounded like it was my name or something, so I was thinking it was somebody upstairs just needing me. So I go back upstairs, and I'm like, whatever. And I asked them what they needed. They said, they didn't yell or nothing like that. I'm like, okay, they're screwing with me. Just pull my leg. Because we knew this place was haunted, but no one's ever really had anything happen to them that we knew. I mean, there were stories and stuff, but nothing serious. So I'm like, whatever. So I go back downstairs with the cart to go get another load of books so they can clean them. And it happens again, but it's even angrier. And this time it is my full name through my headphones and everything. Freaked me out. So I run back upstairs with a full cart. I'm like, okay, which one of you guys wanted me? I heard you yell my name. None of them had anything happen. They said they did not hear nothing. None of them came down and yelled at me. Nothing like that. So from that point on, I did not go down to that basement by myself. Because I was petrified. I was like 16 at the time too. So, very petrified, very scared. I mean, and I'll add it on to my first experience because it's like all in like the same week. Within the next same 2 days. Past 2 days of that time. I was sitting there, and one of the girls said they heard a lady scream in the chapel part of the church. And she's a redhead, so she's already pale as, paper, which is kind of funny. But she's even whiter than that, and they were freaking out about it. And later that day, we get done cleaning, done working, get everything moved out. I'm the last one in there. I'm locking everything up. And I go to climb up onto the ladder to move some lights and change bulbs, and an Allen wrench gets thrown at me from the other room. And it freaked me out because I put the Allen wrench back in that room with the drawer closed. I pick it up and I walk into that room and the drawer's open. Needless to say, I did not go back without my grandpa being there. Because once again, I was very petrified. And that's my first experience.